First and foremost, we always like to give praise to the God of Israel, of our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the Psalms read, "My soul fainteth for thy salvation, but I hope in thy word. My eyes fail for the word, saying, when wilt thou comfort me? For I am become like a bottle in the smoke. Yet I do not forget thy statutes. How many are the days of thy servant? When wilt thou execute judgment on them that persecute me? The proud have digged pits for me, which are not after thy law. All thy commandments are faithful. They persecute me wrongly. Help thou me. They had almost consumed me upon the earth, but I forsake not thy precepts." You can have a seat. Our Psalms reading, 119, verses 81 through 87. Verse 81 through 87. Well, before we get started, I want to give y'all the title of the message. And the title of the message is Black History According to the Bible. Black History According to the Bible. And we all know in the world they give us 1 month out of the year, which is Black History Month. And Black History Month, I don't really like to use the term Black History Month, because if a white person come up and say they want to do a White History Month, everybody break out and say they're racist.
That's right.
So we got to just talk the language of the world. When we talk the language of the world, which is Black History Month, and they want to just give you the history of America, of black people. But we got a much richer history according to the Bible. And whether you know it or not, the so-called Negroes in America and all over the world, they are the children of Israel. And no disrespect to Martin Luther King, no disrespect to Harriet Tubman, and even Malcolm X, he tried to do something for black people. But the thing is, they didn't go and tell the people about Israel in the Bible and who are the chosen people.
That's right.
They're supposed to teach the whole world. Our history has been forgotten. Our kids don't know about our history. Only history they know about is slave history. All they know about, what the guy that developed peanut butter and all that, what his name? Booker T. Washington. Yeah, they give you that, Booker T. Washington, Harriet Tubman, as I said, all those people, the history that's on this land. But we must go in the Bible and tell people about the real history of Israel. Whether you know it or not, we are the Jews, according to the Bible, and God said salvation is come by us. Come by us. And what I mean by us, if we don't know who the children of Israel are, the real Israelites, we'll start getting a teaching from the Jews that is over there in Israel. We think that they are the chosen people. They're not the chosen people. We are. We are the Jews, if you want to per se. We know that we are Israelites because we don't know what tribe we're from. So they just bunches all up and saying that they are Jews. We're going to start in John chapter 4. John chapter 4 and verse 21. Well, listen to what Jesus said. You know, a lot of times I want to start in the Old Testament, but sometimes you got to start in the New Testament and let the people know that Jesus talked about his people too. Jesus came out of the tribe of Judah, which is an Israelite, which is our people. John chapter 4 and verse 21. And this is the time Jesus was talking to this woman at the well, and he was telling her some things, and she didn't quite understand. So he's going to tell her something that can register in all our minds what we must do to obtain salvation. Go start at verse 21. Go ahead, read it, brother.
Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, when ye shall neither in this mountain, nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father.
Go ahead.
Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews.
See what I'm saying? Salvation is of the Jews. If you don't know what the Jews look like, if you don't know what color they are, and you start just going by verbatim what people say in the world, saying that the Jews are over there in Israel today, the other white folks with little curly stuff on their head and bowing to the wall over there, you'll think that those are the chosen people that we must listen to. No, we got to find out what these Jews look like, and we got to find out how they got in the situation they are in today. This is the situation they're in today. And like I said, the title of the message is Black History According to the Bible. We're dealing with color, the color of the Jews. And we're going to have to come through the Bible and compare the nations together. Whether you know it or not, we look just like the Africans. They want to confuse us and call us African Americans. We're not no African, period. And we came over here in America because of the slave trade. But we're going to touch on all that through this whole series. Now we finished with that?
No, we got one more verse.
Go ahead.
23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him.
Yes, sir. That's what we got to do. Worship him in truth and in spirit.
Amen.
And Jesus said the word that he speaks, they are true and they are spirit.
That's right.
And if you don't come by the word and show people who Israel is, you'll mess this whole thing up. That's why we have so much destruction in the land today, because Israel is not on their job. We're not on our job because why? We don't have the knowledge that we Israel. We're taking all the information from all the other nations. Let's go to Revelation chapter 2 and 9. And you heard what Jesus said. Jesus said, salvation is of the Jews. Excuse me, Romans chapter 9. Excuse me. So I got my help over here. He keep me intact. Yes, sir. See, a lot of people don't understand what Jesus is talking about. You're like, why did he say salvation of the Jews? He said he only dealt with one nation. And you have three nations of people. You have the Gentile, you have Japheth, and you have Shem. Excuse me, I'm going to say you have Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Those three nations. So he only dealt with one nation that came out of Shem. That was our father Jacob, Israel. Let's go to Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. Let's see why he said this about Israel. Why are they so important to recognize? Why do we need to know who they are? Because the world is not giving us the true Israelites. And that's why there's so much destruction in the land. Because they're going off what they think. And they're going off this Roman history. They done told us his story, not Jesus' story, not the Israelite story. Like I said, the history is his story. Not our story, which is Israel. So this is why he said salvation is of the Jews. Go ahead. Verse 1.
I say the truth in Christ.
Yes.
I lie not. My conscience also bear me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself was accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
This is Paul talking. Paul telling them he wished that he wanted to express himself and why the Israelites are so important. Go ahead, this is verse 4. Go ahead.
Who are Israelites?
That's what he said, the kinsmen of the flesh. And a lot of people think Paul is white. Paul is not white. We're going to find out he was not white. He said, who are Israelites? Go ahead.
To whom pertaineth the adoption,
yes, sir,
and the glory, and the covenant, and the giving of the law, and the service of God, and the promises.
See, that's what we're looking for. The covenants, the laws, the promises. If we don't know who the right people are, we'll take their doctrine. And that's what the world is doing. They taking the Sunday doctrine. They taking the Easter doctrine. They taking the so-called, all these other kind of doctrines, and it's not lining up with the book. Why? Because Israel don't know who they are. If we don't know who we are, we're going to be like the blind leading the blind. We're going to fall in the ditch. But that's what happened. He said, who are Israelites to whom pertaineth the adoption? We've been adopted by the Father, and the glory and the covenants given of the law and the service of God and the promises. What promises? He promised that we're going to live forever.
That's right.
And to be a God. But if you don't know who the real Israelites are, you get the wrong information, how are you going to obtain that? We can't obtain that. And these people have worked craftily. What I mean by crafty, they have strategically went about covering our eyes and understanding who we are. And Jesus told the one that say they are Jews, they are not. Let's look at that. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. We're going to read one verse here. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. And this is real important, y'all, believe me. Color is real important. It's real important. Because if you don't know the color of Israel, you know how we've been portrayed. We've been portrayed as murderers. We've been portrayed as people that can't get right. But they can't dispute this Bible about what they look like. And we're going to show you. We're going to show you what Israel looked like. Listen to what Jesus said about the Jews. Go ahead, verse 9.
Verse 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
Do our people call ourselves Jews? So who's he talking about? I ain't never referred to myself as a Jew.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure y'all have. He said the ones that say they are Jews and are not. So the person that's saying they are Jews today in Israel, they are not the Jews of this Bible. It's us. It's just that our eyes have been blinded by the nations. Let's go to Psalm chapter 83 and look at that. Psalms 83 and 1. The one that say they are Jews and they are not. And believe me, I have so many people tell me, we are Gentiles, we've been grafted in. And these are Israelites. Black Israelites. And they don't know who they are, calling themselves Gentiles. You're not a Gentile, and we're going to show you not a Gentile. Psalms 83 and verse 1. Go ahead when you get it.
Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Yes, sir.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
See what I'm saying? The enemy have made a tumult. They have taken crafty counsel against us to make sure that we don't know who we are. Every nation. It ain't just the white folks. It's all the nations. Even our own people. Well, listen what he said right here. Go ahead.
Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against our hidden ones.
You see what I'm saying? Taking crafty counsel against our people. Meaning they develop plans, whitewashing history books, making sure that they put all the Israelites being white. They got Paul being white with a bald head in the history books. Listen to what he said now. He said, consulting against our hidden ones. Who hidden? We are.
Exactly.
Why we hidden? We call ourselves Indians. We call ourselves half white. We call ourselves everything in the book but Israel. As a person, what nationality are you from? Oh, I'm mixed with Indian and black. First of all, you got to find out what your daddy is. Whatever your daddy is, that's who you are. I don't care how much white you got there. Your daddy is black, you black. Period. The seed lies with the daddy. Period. No matter what the woman is, the seed lies with the daddy. Just like T and Tamara, they daddy white. They are white. Of sister to sister. Excuse me, sister to sister, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, listen what he said here. He said he had consulted against our hidden one. We hidden. We call ourselves everything in the book. And the main thing we call ourselves is African Americans. Africans. And then you ask any African today, are you an African? He'll tell you no. He knows his history. We just don't know ours. Go ahead.
Verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembered.
See, before y'all start coming in here, a lot of people start coming, they didn't know nothing about Israel. I'm telling you, I didn't know about Israel. I thought everything just started in the New Testament. These people said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. A nation now, when you get a nation of people, which is Israel, and knowing the truth is power.
That's right.
We are strong in stature as Israel. We are faster, stronger, bigger than all other nations. They said, no, we can't let them get that power. We got to put them in slavery. We got to keep their knowledge going. We got to make sure they're not reading. Because if they find out who they are, they're going to be a powerful nation that we cannot reckon with. Go ahead.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacle of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes.
You talking about Edom, which are our brother Esau, which is over there in Israel today. And you talking about Ishmaelites, which are the Arabs. I don't see how in the world a black person can be in an Arab religion. Believe me, the Arabs was our first slave master. They the ones sold us. They the ones bought us, Arabs. But them folks, these black Muslims call themselves Arabs. Assalamu alaikum, my brother. And all this stuff. And they just don't, they're proud of them. They just don't know that the Arab, which are the Ishmaelites, are the ones that had us enslaved. We're going to look at that in a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 6.
7.
I'm sorry. Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistine, which the inhabitants of Tyre.
See, the word Philistine, people look at Philistine and they think that this is a white man because they understand about the story about David and Goliath.
That's right.
They're looking at David and Goliath. You see a big old, tall, giant white man, then you see a little smaller white man. No, it's total opposite. He was a short little black man, which is David, which is an Israelite, versus a big, tall black man, which is an African. He's an African. He's from the seed of Ham, Philistine. We're going to look at that. Jump down to verse 20. I know we got much more in there. Excuse me. Jump down to verse 12, excuse me.
Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession.
They have taken the house of God in possession. Who over in Israel today? They're calling themselves us. We not in Israel today. We don't have the reformation that they give all those Jews over there. They get all the money, everything. They're some of the richest people in the world. And they have taken the houses of God in possessing. This is what happened. Now let's go to Genesis chapter 10 and just look at the lineage of all nations. Genesis chapter 10 and verse 1. So we understand what we are dealing with when we read these different names of different nations. It's very, very, very important that you know the nations of the Bible. If you don't know the nations of the Bible, they'll tell you you're a Gentile. Because their preacher don't know. Calling you a Gentile, especially if you black. But let's look at the lineage of these nations. There's only 3 nations. These are the three sons of Noah. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. There's only 3 nations that we're dealing with. But we're going to deal today with Ham, and Shem, their nations. We'll start at verse 1.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth is Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, and Tubal, and Mesha, and Tiras.
See, these are the nation of Japheth, which are the white people. These are his sons. This is Noah, his 3 sons. These are what all the nations came from. Every one of the nations upon this earth came from these 3 sons. Because when he flooded the earth, it only 8 people survived the flood. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elishah, Tarish, Kittim, and Dudanan. By these were the eyes of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations.
See, understand this. This is the islands of Gentiles. Understand that Gentiles, and down in the south, they call white folks, we used to call themselves gentlemen. That's where they get the word gentleman from Gentile. You'll never, back in the South, hear a black man call himself a gentleman. We was always considered 1/8 of a man or a savage beast. So this is the origin where you get gentleman from. They never called us no Gentile. But this black man has got in these churches and he hasn't taught the history of these nations. You can go look at all these nations, they can be all white nations. But we're going to deal with only 2 nations today, that's Ham and Shem. Ham, which are the African, Shem, which are the Israelites, where we came from, the origin of them. Jump down to verse,
Verse 6.
Oh yeah, go 6.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan.
Understand this, Ham. You're talking about Cush. Cush is the Ethiopian. Mizraim just means black. The Ethiopians are Africans. These are the African nations. This is where everything comes from. Go ahead.
And the son of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabachar, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Deban.
Good bless you can, brother. I know the name is wrong.
Verse 8. And Cush begot Nimrod.
Go ahead.
Okay. Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, Ascad, and Canaan in the land of Shinar.
Okay, that's good. Like we said right here, we're talking about Ham. Ham, which are Ham, he had sons, Cush, he had Cush, which is, like I said, the Ethiopians, if you want to look it up, Mizraim being black, and you got Put. These are the African nations that we need to understand. That's the only way that we're going to find out that we are Israelites, because we were slaves under the African nation, and they look just like us. Just like us. And this is talking about Ham. This is a picture about King Tut that found a hieroglyphic in the tomb of King Tut. That's King Tut and his wife. These people look just like us. But they calling us Africans because we were similar. They group us all in the same category. That's not true. We'll jump down to verse 14. We're going to read something today now, y'all. Y'all read. Go ahead.
And Parasim and Cashadim, out of whom came
The Philistine.
And Capharim.
Well, I mean, the reason why I want to read that about Philistine, like I said before, David killed Goliath. He said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? That was that African. I'm gonna read the definition of Ham. Definition of Ham. If you want to read this comes from out of the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Ham. It said Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably 96 years before the flood. One of the 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. This is in the dictionary, Zondervan Dictionary. He was not the progenitor of the Negroes, meaning black people. You know that Egyptians are black, and also the Israelites are black. That's why I put this picture up about King Tut, Tutankhamun, and his wife. They are the same color. But let's keep reading. I just want to give you that definition of Ham. Jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. These are the sons of Ham after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations.
We're dealing with Ham. Now we got to understand the story of Ham and where he came from. Now we're going to look at the story of Joseph, how he became ruler in Egypt. Let's go to Genesis chapter 37. Genesis chapter 37 and verse 1. The only way that we can find out that the Israelites are black is that we got to compare ourselves to the Africans. That's why I had this picture up here showing you what Ham looked like. And we read the dictionary and said, in the Zondervan Dictionary, said he was the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. We know that Negroes are black people. So you got 2 dark nations we're dealing with, 2 dark nations. But we're going to look at this story about Joseph so we can understand how he was sold to Pharaoh and he was confused as an Egyptian. So we bring in pictures so you understand this. Genesis 37, we're going to start at verse 1.
And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report.
Y'all seen the little cartoon movie about the Prince of Egypt, about Joseph. And this is the time when Jacob had his last son, which was Joseph, the youngest one. He was a little snitch. He used to go tell on his brothers what they weren't doing right, and his brother got mad. They're like, man, we tired of this little cat telling on us all the time. We got to do something about him, man. We got to do something about him. And they devised a plan. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors.
See, that's the thing about it. Jacob was making this. He was taking too much time with this boy, gave him a coat of colors, and he loved him more than he loved his other sons. And his other son got real jealous, and they consoled him to kill him. Go ahead.
And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him.
They hated him. Jump down to verse 23. We have to compare Egypt, which is the Egyptians, and the Israelites. Joseph is from the seed of Jacob. Jacob is our forefather who had the 12 tribes of Israel. Those 12 brothers where our nation came from. But we have to make the comparison to Egypt, which are the Africans, and the Israelites, because we look the same. To let you understand that these people were black. Not white, black. Go ahead, verse 23.
And it came to pass when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it.
Go ahead.
And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilgad with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt.
Now here come the Ishmaelites, which are the Arabs. Arabs coming with their spices. Now his brothers don't stop them and talk to him about selling Joseph. They didn't really want to kill him. One of his brothers really didn't want to kill him. They're going to sell him to these Arabs. Go ahead.
26. And Judah said unto his brother, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were consent. Then there passed by Midianite merchant men, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt.
They brought him into Egypt. They sold him, the Ishmaelites, which are the Arabs. That's why I can't see how in the world a black man can be a Muslim. Those are our first slave masters right there. Joseph was the first Israelite to be sold into slavery. First one. And you call yourself a Muslim. Assalamu alaikum. All that. You don't even know your history about this. We're doing the comparison of Joseph, which is an Israelite, and the Africans, which are the pharaohs out of Egypt. Now he sold it. Let's keep moving. Let's go to Genesis 39. Let's see what happened to Joseph. Genesis 39, verse 1. We have to do it this way so you will understand about this person, which is King Tut, and what he looked like. He was an African. Go ahead.
Verse 1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither.
So we got Potiphar bought Joseph, and he brought him down to Egypt. Go ahead.
And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master of Egyptian.
Now understand this. God orchestrated this whole plan. Don't get it twisted.
Yes, he did.
Don't get it twisted now. A lot of times, most people got to go back and read these stories and understand because you're going through a bad situation. God trying to teach you something. He's trying to get you to the point of understanding where he wants you. Joseph was a mighty man in Egypt. He was second in command, as we're going to find out. He was a very prosperous man. Anytime any nation wanted to know something, they had to come and get our forefathers to ask. In the last day, they're going to have to come and get us. Well, go ahead.
Verse 3. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
Made all that he had to prosper in his hand. He's seen that this Israelite, Joseph, jump down to verse 7.
And it came.
Now understand this, it's going to come with a little turmoil, a little trouble. It always a little trouble. Let's look at what happened with Joseph when he was in Potiphar's house and how his wife came back. Go ahead.
And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me.
She wanted to have sex with Joseph.
But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master rotten not what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he had to my hand.
Joseph said, hold up, mom. I ain't finna mess up what I got going on right here. to go and sleep with you. Understand this, every time we in a situation, stuff gonna come up. It's gonna come up, but you got to do the right thing. This stuff was orchestrated by God. He knew what Potiphar gonna do. Jump down to verse 12. And look what this lady did to him because he wouldn't lie with her. He wouldn't have sex with her. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled, got him out.
Now this is like I said, he ran out, like, no, I'm not gonna do that, but she had his garment in his hand, and she gonna go tell a lie on him. Jump down to verse 16.
And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home.
Go ahead.
And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me.
Lying on him, mocking him, telling him that this man tried to rape me. Understand this. Potiphar heard this, he ain't gonna even go and talk to Joseph and find out what's going on.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as I lift up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled.
He would get mad. See, a lot of times you just can't listen. Just can't listen to one party, which is your wife, or somebody, or whoever, or your husband. You got to hear the whole matter out.
Exactly.
So what Potiphar did, he just took what his wife said and threw Joseph in jail.
Exactly.
You got to listen to the whole party. But all this was orchestrated. Jump down to verse, Jump down to verse 20.
20, okay.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
And Joseph's master took him, put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
See, the thing about it, the Lord was always with Joseph. Anywhere he went, he was with him. He put him in the prison for a reason. Let's go to Genesis chapter 41, and we're going to start at verse 1. We are understanding about Potiphar, which is an Egyptian. Then we're talking about Joseph, which is an Israelite. These people are black people, period. Go ahead, verse 1.
And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river.
Now understand, Pharaoh had a dream. He had a dream about 7 cows. And he didn't understand what this dream meant. And when he went to his wise men and he wanted to ask them about what does the dream mean, and they didn't know. And understand that Pharaoh gonna get rid of him. But this butler remembered Joseph that was in jail with him. And he remembered how he interpreted his dream. Told him that he was going to be restored and back in the Pharaoh's kingdom. The cupbearer. Then he told him about the baker, which is the baker, he said he was going to die in 3 days and by his dream. So the butler remembered that after Pharaoh was coming to him and asking all the people, tell me what my dream means. Let's go, keep reading. Verse 2.
Verse 2. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 whales, favorite kind, and fat flesh. And they fed in a meadow.
See, he said, fat flesh. He fed in the meadow. He telling them the dream of what's going on. And Pharaoh knew this meant something. But keep going.
And behold, 7 other kind came up after them out of the river, ill favored and lean flesh, and stood by the other kind upon the brink of the river.
Go ahead.
And the ill-favored and lean-flesh kind did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kind. So Pharaoh awoke.
So Pharaoh awoke. He don't know what this means. So he got to call somebody, one of his wise men, to make him understand his dream. but they couldn't understand it.
Come on.
This dream was given to him for God, by God, so Joseph would come in to help him.
Come on.
Yes, sir. Let's go jump down to verse 8. Listen to what he said right here. Go ahead.
And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh.
None of them could tell him what this dream meant. Go ahead.
Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servant, put me in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker.
Remember what I said? He had the chief baker and the butler in jail, in war, meaning in jail. And Joseph told the chief baker that he was going to die in 3 days, and he told the butler that he was going to be restored back in Pharaoh's house. And this is what the butler's telling Pharaoh what's happening. Go ahead.
Verse 11, and we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret.
This is what he did. He interpreted the dream. Because Pharaoh wanted to know what the dream meant because it startled him. It troubled him. And he said, I got to know it. And all his wise men couldn't tell it. So here you go. He got to come to this Hebrew. This Hebrew, our people, to find out what's going on. That's why I tell you, if you don't know the color of Israel, you don't know who to go to get this knowledge from, you'll get it from the wrong source. Look at all the people that Pharaoh went to and they couldn't tell him. At least they said they couldn't tell him. But these jokers today, they'll fake it and tell you how to get salvation. All you got to do is confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. No, but that's another thing, another lesson. But jump down to verse 14. Listen to what Pharaoh said.
Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh.
He coming unto Pharaoh. Pharaoh don't know what this dream means. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee, that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it.
Yes, sir. Now he needed help. Listen what Joseph said.
And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace.
Understand that Joseph put God at the top of the pedestal. He said, not in me now. God gonna give you the interpretation of the dream by me. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Jump down to verse 17. Okay, keep moving.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat flesh and well favored.
Okay, we good on that. Let's go to let's go to we at 29. Jump down to verse 29.
Okay.
Is that on your list, 29?
No.
Okay, let's go to Genesis chapter 42, excuse me. Genesis 42. And let's look at Joseph. Genesis 42.
1 through.
I know it looked like 42, 43 verse.
No, I said 1 through 3.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, 1 through 3. Genesis 42, 1 through 3. Go ahead.
Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, Why do ye look one upon another? And he said, Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down there and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt.
Now at this time, after Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream, he appointed him heir and ruler. He was second in command. He came from the jail cell all the way up to being second in command. Now it's a famine in all the land in Egypt, and now they need corn. Everybody's starving at this point. So the dream that Joseph interpreted, Pharaoh, the dream that Joseph interpreted, he told him, put away 7 years of food, because you're gonna have 7 years of famine where there's no food gonna grow. So he did as Joseph said, and they were the only ones that had food, and everybody had to come up and buy from Egypt. So he told, this is Jacob telling his other 10 sons, go in Egypt, go buy something to eat so we won't starve to death, basically. Let's go ahead and jump down to verse 7. And listen what happened. Now Joseph, he's the governor. He came from the jail cell, now he's second in command, and his brothers think he's dead. He's not dead. Go ahead.
And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence cometh ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food.
Hold on, this is his 10 brothers talking to Joseph. They didn't know who he was.
That's right.
They thought he was an Egyptian. Meaning that he looked like the Africans, the Egyptians. Now this is his brother talking to his 10 brothers. But go ahead.
Verse 8. And Joseph knew his brother, but they knew not him.
They didn't know him. Go ahead.
And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come.
Now understand this, the dream that Joseph had, he said, I dreamed that y'all was going to buy me. And at this point, they about to buy. Go ahead.
And they said unto him, nay, my lord, but to buy food are they servants come.
Now they call him Lord. They call him Lord now. Keep going. We at verse 11.
11. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies.
He said, we not spies. We not lying. We need food. Now jump down to verse 17. Go ahead.
And he put them all together into ward 3 days.
Now Joseph, remember what they did to him. They sold him. He put him in jail for 3 days and let them talk amongst each other.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And Joseph said unto them the 3rd day, this do and live, for I fear God.
Go ahead.
If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the famine of your houses.
So he let them go to carry corn to their houses. But he wanted the younger brother to come. Go ahead, jump down to verse 21.
And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore, is this distress come upon us?
Now he understand that what they did to Joseph, they like, man, very anguish of our soul, because we sold our brother into slavery. And they remember this.
Exactly.
And what Joseph wanted them to come and bring the younger brother to him. He said, no, we can't do that, man, because we know how it made our father feel when he told them that Joseph is dead. Well, keep reading.
Verse 22. And Reuben answered them, saying, speak I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child, and you would not hear. And you would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required.
Go ahead.
And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter.
Now Joseph was talking to them by interpreter, but he understand what they're saying. Like he wanted them to go get his younger brother. He said, no, we can't go get our younger brother because we know what we did to Joseph, and it hurt Jacob real bad. Now let's understand this. Let's go to verse 29. Jump down to verse 29. Yeah.
And they came unto Jacob their father unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell upon them, saying,
Go ahead.
the man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country.
Now he said, the man, he know that was his brother, Joseph. Let's jump down to verse 34. Go ahead.
And bring your youngest brother unto me, then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. So will I deliver you your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land.
Now he telling him what Joseph said, bring your younger brother to me. He telling Jacob this. But listen what happened. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, me have ye revealed of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me.
He didn't like it. He gonna take Benjamin away? Go ahead.
And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again.
Go ahead.
And he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way in the which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
See, Jacob didn't want him to bring it because he understood what happened to Joseph at the time. Let's keep going. Let's go to Genesis 45. Let's go to Genesis 45. Now they're gonna find out that this is his brother. The reason why we have to go through so much of the scripture, so we understand that these are Egyptians and Hebrews talking together, and they are the same color. Let's look at this. Go to Genesis 45:1.
Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brother.
So he couldn't refrain, he couldn't hide it no more. Now he's going to reveal himself to his brother. He's crying. He said, and all his servants out so he can talk to them. Go ahead, verse 2.
And he wept aloud. And the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brother, I am Joseph. Do my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence.
He said, I am Joseph. Just think about this. You done sold your brother into slavery, and you thinking he dead.
That's right.
And now he's in second in command under Pharaoh, and he telling him, I am Joseph, your brother, that you was sold. And they became in trouble, like, whoa. And then he started telling them things about what he did, but he said, don't be troubled. Because God did this to me to bring me up to be in second in command. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life.
See, that's what he's sending in Pharaoh's house to preserve life, because he had to interpret Pharaoh's dream. When he interpreted Pharaoh's dream, he said, man, ain't nobody watching this man. I'm going to bring him under me. And therefore, he saved all of Egypt and all the Israelites, because he interpreted the dream that God gave him. He interpreted. Jump down to verse 9.
Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, thus says thy son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt.
He tell him, hey, go and tell my father that we made me Lord of all Egypt. Jump down to verse 28. Go ahead. 28.
And Israel said, it is enough. Joseph my son is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die.
This is the time he went to Israel. Is talking about Jacob. he went to see his son in second in command. But one thing about it, he made Joseph promise him that he will bury him somewhere. Bury him somewhere. Now we're going to understand, get into the color situation. I need to lay a foundation right here so you understand that the Israelites and the Egyptians dwelled together and they was black. They confused Joseph as an Egyptian, as a Pharaoh. Now, if Joseph was white, how they confuse him with as an Egyptian?
That's right.
You can't confuse the two. Now, Jacob is about to die, and he told Joseph, he made Joseph promise him that he would bury him somewhere. And let's look at this funeral and how they seen all the Israelites and the Egyptians together and what they called them. We're gonna start with verse 7 to save some time.
7.
Yeah.
And Joseph went up to bury his father.
Genesis chapter 50, excuse me, and verse 5. Excuse me. Genesis chapter 50 and verse 5.
Oh,
Yeah, we doing it ourselves, right? But you know, like I said, Jacob made his son Joseph promise him that he wouldn't leave him buried in Egypt. Now here come Jacob, he about to die. But we concerned about what these people saw. Go ahead. Verse 5.
verse 5. My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die in my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan. That shalt thou bury me. Now therefore, let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again.
Okay, jump to verse 7. This is when Jacob died, and he told him he's going to bury his father. Go ahead.
And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt.
Everybody went up to Jacob's funeral. Go ahead.
And all the house of Joseph and his brother and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen.
Go ahead.
And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company.
So they went up to this funeral. He had a big funeral for Jacob. All the Egyptians and the Hebrews. Go ahead.
And
Verse
they,
10.
and they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, and there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days.
So they mourning at this funeral for 7 days. Now pay close attention to what this next verse says. Verse 11.
And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites,
So when the Canaanites seen this, listen to what they said. Go ahead.
saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians.
He said, this is a grievous mourning for the Egyptians. Understand, the Hebrews and the Egyptians all went up together. But the Canaanites said, this is a grievous mourning for the Egyptians. Grouping them all in one class per se. Because he seen all black people. He thought all these were black Egyptians. They look the same. Go ahead. This start with this is a grievous mourning.
This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians, wherefore the name of it was called Abel-Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan.
Abel-Mizraim is a grievous mourning. A grievous mourning for the Egyptians, meaning they had a funeral, but they all look the same. They all look the same. Why they say, look at these white folks with these black people? He said, no, this is all the Egyptians in one place, mourning for Jacob, Joseph's father. This is what we're talking about, color in the Bible. All the Egyptians was black. Like I showed y'all, King Tut, he was a black man. This is his people, the Egyptians. The Egyptians. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 13. And you cannot change the color of a person's skin complexion at this time. You can't change it. We have to do it this way so you can make the comparisons between, you can compare the Egyptian, which are black people, then you compare the Israelites, which are black people also. But the Israelites are the ones that hold the covenants and the laws. He had to take us through these situations when we mess up and put us in slavery, but he always uplifts us out of that. But we're going to look at this, Jeremiah chapter 13 and verse 23. Jeremiah 13 and verse 23. Let's look at this. Listen to what he said about the Ethiopians. Go ahead.
Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also do good.
See what he said? He said, can the Ethiopian change the skin of his, can the Ethiopian change his skin, or a leopard his spots? Then they may also do good that are accustomed to evil. All he's saying right here, the Ethiopians, they are going to be the same color, just like a leopard. He cannot change his spot. But in history, they have changed the spots of the Ethiopian or the African. They have said they are white. They are white. But on the hieroglyphics on the wall of King Tut's tomb, they show the carvings that he was a black man. You can't change those customs. Go ahead. But let's show you the definition of Ethiopian. This is the last 2 million years right here in this history book. It said Ethiopian. The name comes from the Greek word Ethiop, which means dark skin. This is what it is. When you talk about Ethiopia, these are dark skinned people. So when they came up to the funeral of Jacob, they confused the two and said, this is all Egyptian, a grievous mourning. But it says right here, can the Ethiopian change his skin? No, he can't change his skin at all. So why are they telling us that we are not the real Jews of the Bible? The real Jews were black. Keep reading.
Therefore will I scatter them as the stubble that passes away by the wind of the wilderness, wilderness.
See what he's saying? He said, therefore I will scatter them. He scattered Israel because they forgotten the Lord. They forgotten the Lord. And when you forget the Lord, he's going to put you in slavery. He put you in slavery all the time. Keep reading.
This is thy lot, the portion of thy measures from me, says the Lord, because thou hast forgotten me and trusted in falsehood.
This is what I'm trying to explain in this history lesson about, black people according to the Bible. When these people that tell us that we are Gentiles, and don't know that the Gentiles are white people, we're doing a comparison. We have to compare Egypt with Israel because we have the same color. Now let's go to Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1 and verse 1. And we're going to look at the time when Joseph died and the Israelites was in the land. Exodus chapter 1 and verse 1. Go ahead when you get it.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob.
So they came with Jacob. This time when they came with Jacob to live in Egypt. When Joseph became the second ruler of Egypt. So now Joseph was going to die. And these Africans or the Egyptians said, hey man, these Hebrews too big and too strong. We got to deal wisely with these people because they're going to join with the enemy and take over our spot as being lords over the land, over Egypt. Jump down to verse 7.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied, and the whites exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
Listen to what he said. He said the children of Israel start multiplying, meaning they start having a bunch of babies. There were more Israelites in Egypt than there was Egyptians. And these people didn't like that. He said, there rose up a king, which is Ramses, that didn't know Joseph at the time. He's like, okay, we got to deal with these folks before they get too crazy and overrule us. Go ahead, verse 9.
And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they're fallen out in war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So they want to kick them out. Deal wisely, man. We got to deal wisely with this Hebrew because he's more mighty. Look at all the Hebrews today. We're way bigger than the Africans. We're way stronger than a lot of the Africans. He said we got to deal wisely with these people. Let's say join with the enemy. Look what happened. Look what they did. Go ahead.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burden. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Phytoms and Ramses.
See, this is the treasure city they built for them. Look up here on the screen. They built for them pyramids. You want to know who built those pyramids? It wasn't the African. It was our people. It said they built for them treasure cities. How do you think these pyramids got over there? Off the backs of Hebrews, slave trade. They put taskmasters over us. Go ahead.
Verse 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptian made the children of Israel to serve with vigor.
Because they put the taskmasters and slave masters over us, children of Israel still grew. They still were having babies. You know, we ain't got nothing to do, we can make some babies. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at my wife or my girlfriend, hey, we ain't got nothing to do with slaves. We got to have some type of relaxation. So we start having babies. And then next thing you know, it was too many of the Hebrews in the land at the time. Go ahead.
And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve.
See, they made it hard for the Hebrews. They made them serve in mortar and brick. Hard service. So they started making them do, let me see if I can get this thing right here. So they made them serve with mortar and brick. So this is a time when there was on the walls of Egypt at the time, the hieroglyphics, how they had blacks slaves being served over by black taskmasters. That's what we read in Exodus chapter 1. And it says, the dissipating Israel brought bondage in, it said, found in the tumult of the tomb or the requisition of the governor of Israel at the time of Tumas the third. This is talking about when they was in Egypt at the time, he made them serve and make bricks without straw. And he said, and all the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives built with bondage and mortar and brick, all manner of service in the field. This is in Exodus chapter 1, just as we read. This is an actual picture of what was on the wall. So you can't tell me that the Egyptians didn't know how to draw white. They got white clothes on. They knew how to draw white. They put in black and black together. So we're showing you the color of them. Go ahead. Verse 15.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shapar, and the name of the other Pua. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew woman, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him.
See what he said? Go ahead.
But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
See, they understand that the Hebrews are getting a lot. Anytime, that's why I tell you, the seed lies with the man. If that man have a baby by that Egyptian woman, that child is a Hebrew, not an Egyptian.
That's right.
The seed lies with man. So he said, you got to kill all these boys. You got to kill them. Because if they keep having babies by our women, our race ain't going to be no more. It'll be more mighty than the land. But they didn't do that at the time. At the time. Listen what he said. Go ahead.
But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive.
Saved them. They saved them. They do what he said. They saved them. Go ahead.
And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men, children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew woman are not as the Egyptian woman, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them.
He said the Hebrew women, they pop them, chill them out fast as all get out. It don't take them long. We don't know if they had babies or what. They had the baby, went out in the fields and started working again. See, this is the thing I'm trying to tell you is that if we're going to deal with Moses now, how Moses came about. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2 and verse 1. Let's deal with the color of Moses.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months.
It's a goodly child, and she hid him for 3 months.
Goodly child, I'm sorry.
This is when Moses came about. We're going to find out the color of Moses. The color is really important because in the movies, they put Moses as being white. He's not white, y'all. He's black. That's why I read to y'all back in Genesis, Exodus chapter 1, how the midwives tried to kill the Hebrew babies. And his mama knew that, so she made a little carriage, and she put him out and let him drip to Pharaoh's daughter. And she going to take Moses. Let's keep reading. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And when she could not no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink.
Go ahead.
And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flag, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrew children.
See, automatically she knew. And this a boy. This is one of the Hebrew children. Now, Pharaoh told the midwives to kill all the boys. So she had to get Moses out of there. You see how God doing that? He put Joseph in under Pharaoh. Now he finna do the same thing with Moses. Now, if Moses was a Hebrew, why did Pharaoh kill? I mean, if Moses was a white Gentile, why did Pharaoh kill him? Let's find out. Go ahead.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it.
So she went and found the mother of Moses and said, Look, I'm going to pay you to nurse your son up until he gets some aid to be weaned off the breast, and then he going to come and live with me. This is Pharaoh's daughter. Go ahead.
And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, Because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, looked on their burdens, and he spied, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren.
Now this is the time when Moses knew he was Hebrew. It ain't like the Ten Commandments, how the woman took the little Hebrew cloth and hid it and said they didn't know that there was a Hebrew. They knew there was